Playboy will no longer feature naked women in its print edition. Oh boy, I can't tell you what this does to me. Does anybody actually read Playboy anymore? I'm wondering, number 663-1270. Let me know if you read Playboy. And no, don't call and say, oh, I just read the articles. Jim Walsh here on Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Of all the stories that have come out this week, and by the way, the first major Democratic debate is happening tonight with Hillary and Bernie and possibly Joe Biden. Maybe he'll be there. Maybe not. We don't know yet. We understand he's going to be in the neighborhood. Maybe he'll just kind of drop by and say, hey. Also, the other ones, Jim Webb and the other guy. Oh, the guy, what's his name? O'Malley, former governor of Maryland, who is a real schlub, as I understand. I have friends who live in that part of the country and say that O'Malley was not very popular. He was actually voted out of office by the guy who is the current governor of Maryland, a guy named Larry Hogan. Let me tell you how unpopular Martin O'Malley is in Maryland. The guy who ran against him has cancer, and he still beat him. Okay. More on that a little bit later. I still think Jim Webb, the guy from Virginia, is the guy to watch in terms of policy because, and I know Heitkamp mentioned this earlier, the fact that Hillary has been kind of sliding to the left. She kind of had to slide to the left because of the Bernie Sanders thing, leaving Jim Webb to be the guy who covers the middle and right wing of the Democratic Party. As I understand, Mr. Webb kind of leans to the right anyway on certain issues. He's certainly a fiscal conservative, at least by Democrat standards. He's also a veteran of the Gulf War who is not necessarily the closest friend of the whole neoconservative faction, which is wonderful for me. So of all the Democrats, the one guy who I would actually get halfway excited about if I thought he had a chance would be this guy, Jim Webb, former senator from Virginia. The main problem with Jim Webb is he's not very telegenic. I mean, he's a plug ugly, pasty white guy. Not very attractive to look at. I mean, even Joe Biden, who's not exactly Joe Stud, Joe's palatable on TV. I mean, you can look at Joe and okay, it's Joe Biden. You look at Jim Webb on TV and it's like, ugh. Got to work on that dude. But anyway, in terms of policy, he is the guy, I think, to watch. He is the dark horse in this whole affair. And I guess we'll know soon enough. All right, 663-1270. And, my whole thing about the Democratic Party, especially living here, if I do bother to vote next year, I'm thinking I'm probably going to vote a straight Democratic ticket. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm crazy about the Democrats. I'm not. I'm really not that crazy about the Democrats. But the Republicans have held sway in this state for far too long. For far too long, this state it's been a one-party system where one state dominates and almost completely calls the shots on everything. And I've got some real issues with some of the shots they're calling. And for that reason, if for no other reason, then the first step, I think, toward setting things straight would be, at the very least, to have some kind of something vaguely resembling a two-party system in North Dakota. And for that reason, I would have to vote straight Democratic ticket, even though I'm not a big fan of the Democrats. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of voting. But if I do vote, that's probably what I'll do. Just saying. All right, 663-1270. Coming up, we're going to talk about the deal with Playboy. Playboy is no longer going to feature those pictures of women in various stages of undress in its print edition. We'll talk about why. Maybe wax nostalgic, in a manner of speaking. That's all coming up here at Super Talk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Be right back.
right now 54.
Live news headlines and weather together. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
My blood runs cold. My memory has just been sold. My angel is the centerfold. Angel is the centerfold. My blood runs cold. My memory has just been sold. Angel is the
Playboy magazine will no longer feature nude women in its print edition. My first question, does anybody out there still read Playboy, the print edition? Does anybody still read it? If you do, I'd like to hear from you. Oh, yeah, right. You read for the articles, sure. 663-1270. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270. When I was younger, I haven't picked up Playboy in years. And it's not because I've developed any kind of moral objection. It just doesn't float my boat anymore. I think, as with a lot of other people, if I was going to look at the girly pictures, there's plenty of other places I can go and get things that are more to my personal liking, mainly through the internet. It sounds to me like Playboy is basically, it's a victim of its own success because the doors that it opened socially for everybody to rush through have resulted in making itself obsolete. Well, it was obsolete years ago, I think. But the other thing is, again, with the internet, if you're going to look at, if you want to see pictures to get your jollies, whatever, there's plenty of places you can go where you can get very specifically what you want. You know, if you want to see a picture of a girl rubbing up against a cat post while humming the theme from MASH, if that's what gets your jollies, there's probably a video on the internet somewhere of somebody doing that. You know, if you're turned on, I don't care what your fetish is, if you're turned on by, I don't know, elbows. You know, if you like looking at women's elbows, or how about this, women's elbows that are caulked with cement. You know, the construction workers who work out there, they get the cement on their elbows. Well, there's probably a site somewhere on the internet of women, of girls with cement on their elbows. And there's probably some guy somewhere who really gets off on that. No matter what you can name, no matter what possible kink you can name, you know somewhere there's a market for it. And that, I think, is what's probably killed Playboy. The deal is, I mean, there is a Playboy online edition, apparently. And again, I've never really looked at it. I just, like I say, now I was one of those people when I was younger, mainly in my 20s. I did buy, and I actually did read the articles, and I can prove it to you because I can tell you about some of the articles I read. Playboy always had the best interviews of anybody. They had all kinds of great interviews. In fact, I've got a book at home, a collection of the best Playboy interviews, and there's not a single girly picture in there. It's all print. It's all interviews with some of the movers and shakers of our society. I got a list here somewhere. Well, I remember the Donald Trump interview. Ayn Rand, Timothy Leary, Jimmy Carter, back when he was running for president. That's the one where he admitted to lusting. I've lusted in my heart many times. That one. Alvin Toffler and William F. Buckley. All kinds of. I remember the Rush Limbaugh interview. I interviewed Rush, and he had a lot of things to say about the burning issues of the day. Back when Rush was still halfway interesting, many years ago. And I always basically enjoyed the, I don't know what you call it, libertarian, maybe libertine is a better word, the whole libertine outlook of the publication. They were hardcore civil libertarians, Heff and Company, long before it was commonplace in mainstream media to be that way. Nonetheless, some changes are afoot. And no, that's not another fetish reference. Changes are afoot in the sense that, in case you're just tuning in, the deal is that Playboy has announced that starting in March of next year, the print edition of Playboy will no longer feature pictures of girls in various states of undress. You know, the big centerfold with the staple in the middle, staple in the girl's belly button, it's gone. It's going away. And it's going to become more of a magazine oriented toward things like, well, dining and leisure, I guess. One article I found makes a point that it's going to become there's going to be more focus on liquor. Liquor as in not liquor, I hardly even know her. No, liquor as in what you drink. It's going to become more of that kind of, like I say, basically dining, travel, dining, leisure, men's stuff, but without the pictures of the girls. If you want that, you're still going to have to go online. And my question again is anybody out there still reading Playboy? Or would you admit to it if you were? I never understood that. If you read it on up to it. I'm not going to condemn you. No matter what you do, somebody's going to condemn you for something. And so you might as well just enjoy yourself. That's always been my philosophy. But let me know if I would like to hear from anybody who actually still, because I'm betting there aren't too many out there. There are not too many guys who actually will buy Playboy off the newsstand. Like I say, I walk right by it and go, oh, there's Playboy. Okay. Let's see what's new in Esquire this month. And that's the thing. If you want to read about men's issues or how to dress better or how to roll a better cigar or whatever, or even some of the sex stuff that you see in some magazines, how to enhance your orgasmic whatever, there are places more top of mind than Playboy. Most of them are on the internet. Some of them are on the newsstand. But Playboy to me is just an afterthought anymore. I don't know, maybe it's just a thing I've gotten older. But, for all of the semi-artsy shots of a lady's hoo-hoo, it wasn't you didn't really get a lot of diversity in Playboy. You had the girls of the Big Ten or the girls of the Southern Conference. That's about it. In terms of diversity, the naked women in National Geographic, there was probably a lot more diversity there than there always was in Playboy. Anyway, 663-1270, we're talking about the, I don't know if you can call it the demise. Playboy is still around, but they're just not going to have the pictures of the women anymore. They're dropping the nudity in the print edition in favor of, and I quote here, expanded coverage of liquor and PG-13 thrills, whatever the hell that means. Playboy pulls in roughly 40% of its revenue through branded merchandise in China, where the magazine is not even sold. Parts of the world that have yet to undergo the sorts of part of the world where you can't even get the magazine, they've heard of it. But of course, they probably have a very specific idea of what it is, but it's not that anymore. If anything, as one commentator notes, the new version of Playboy 2.0, we'll call it, sounds more like something you would get for free on an airplane. Those little magazine things. You got your Sky Mall, and then you got your little goofy little magazine things that you can read and kill time when you're on the airplane flying from Minneapolis to Dallas or whatever. Well, the new version of Playboy sounds more like one of those airplane freebies than anything that's really going to set the world afire. No, Playboy has seen its better days. And again, I think it's become a victim of its own success and its own ability to break down those walls, break down those barriers of the heretofore buttoned-down society. The new rebooted Playboy, does it sound like something that you would be interested in? Not really to me. Now, the magazine, it says here, the magazine will adopt a cleaner, more modern style. There will be a Playmate of the Month, but the pictures will be more PG-13 and less produced, more like the racier sections of Instagram. Again, very telling. The analogy they use is social media. A little more accessible, he says, a little more intimate. It is not yet decided whether there will be a centerfold. See, initially they were saying no. Now they're saying a definite maybe on that one. The sex columnist will be a sex-positive female writing enthusiastically about sex. And Playboy will continue its tradition of investigative journalism, in-depth interviews, and fiction. Well, one advantage to this, I suppose, is the fact that for the first time in history, a guy can actually say he reads Playboy for the articles, and finally people will believe him. You know? I've been saying that for years. Nobody believes me. I don't know why. All right. That's where we stand with Playboy. Coming up, we're going to talk about John Oliver's commentary over the weekend about what's going on in the oil patch. Great commentary. You need to check it out. We have it posted on the website, supertalk1270.com. Give it a look and listen to what we had to say in just a bit.
Right now, 54.
Listen to the podcast of many of your favorite shows now at supertalk1270.com.
Have you seen the John Oliver video yet, where he talks about North Dakota and everything that's wrong with the oil business here in this state? Oh, it's amazing. You got to check it out. We've got it up and running, or we will have it up and running very shortly here at the website. Supertalk1270.com. There I go again. No. When I'm on Cool in the mornings, that's down at the other end of the hall, Jim. Supertalk1270 and supertalk1270.com. Jim Walsh talking about, we mentioned John Oliver thing. Number here, by the way, is 663-1270. And we're going to get, before I do that, though, I got something I want to pull up here. Pardon me while I whip this out here. Let me see if I can bring this up here.
For so many years here in Minnesota, you and I have...
Oh, okay, let me back this up here. We got another talk show host who's running for political office. Listen to this.
Hello, I'm Jason Lewis.
Hello,
For
Jay.
so many years here in Minnesota, you and I have been fighting the good fight.
Right.
Trying to preserve the very best America has to offer. A respect for individual freedom and private property. The rule of law in the Constitution. And of course, an economic system that has given us a rising tide of prosperity that's been the envy of the world. I'm sorry to say those things are now in jeopardy. Washington is in the midst of an unparalleled expansion of government power and control over our daily lives. Politicians have told us the kind of health care we must buy, the type of energy we must use, the kind of cars we must drive, and which cell phone calls we make are private and which are not. Establishment politicians in both parties have created a boom and bust cycle with crony capitalism and easy money, while the average citizen is left to pick up the pieces when the economic bubbles burst.
Blah, blah. Yeah, it's the same old thing, yeah. And you're going to be the guy to fix it. Some clown who talks on the radio. Right. Sure you are, yeah. Blow up. Just shut up. And go back to your radio show and entertain your faithful following who will hang on to your every word. Yeah, tell us about how it's all the fault of the guys, both parties. Yeah, right. But especially those guys with the D's next to the name, because the guys with the R's next to the name, they can do no wrong. Right. Sure. That's what it comes down to with these guys. Yeah, I love these talk show hosts. They say, well, we don't take the standard line on Republicans good, Democrats bad. And then you get on the air, and that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do because they're full of it. And then you go, and then they decide they're going to run for office. Get over yourself, dude. Jeez. run for office. All right, Super Talk 1270. Now, I wanted to get to the John Oliver video. I wish I could just play it on the air, but I can't for two reasons. Number one, it's kind of long. It's pretty lengthy. And number two, he uses a lot of words that, well, contemporary community standards. And if I put them on the air, I'd get in a lot of trouble. And I'm already in a lot of trouble for enough things anyway. But the John Oliver commentary from his HBO show this past weekend, he talks about North Dakota and about the oil industry and about everything that's thoroughly screwed up about the way we're running things in this state. He talks about OSHA or the lack of OSHA. Where is OSHA? Well, there's somewhere out there, but people are getting injured. People are getting killed. He talks about that. Remember that one big accident happened a couple of years ago where a bunch of people got killed, and it turned out that the people on the scene were not really doing their jobs. They were not even paid members of the company. They were independent contractors, and they were just kind of standing around there scratching their butts, waiting for something to happen. And meanwhile, people were getting killed because of this neglect. Now, if you know me at all, I'm as pro-free enterprise as they come. What we have in this state, though, is not free enterprise. I remember when that moron Hannity came out here and he went into his whole thing about how North Dakota is some kind of capitalist utopia. It's not. All right? What we have here is your classic case of crony capitalism, which is not the same as market capitalism. We've never really had market capitalism. We do have plenty of we have crony capitalism out the yin-yang. And by crony capitalism, I mean big government and big business in cahoots with one another, scratching each other's backs, and each one looking the other way while the other one goes off and does what it's basically, whatever it feels like doing. That's what we have in North Dakota. Now, to be a true market person, I believe you have to respect the property rights of everybody, including the farmers who are concerned about the pollution and how it's affecting their crops. Just the people in general who are concerned about air pollution, water pollution, how it may affect their health. I mean, to me, I see pollution as a property rights issue. If you're dumping garbage, figuratively speaking, in your neighbor's backyard, you should be held accountable for that. And that's kind of what's happening here in North Dakota, only they're not being held accountable. They do what they do, and everybody just kind of looks the other way. And nobody wants to talk about it because, well, we want to be nice. We don't want to make any waves. We don't want to kill the golden goose. So we're just going to we're going to kill the golden goose, all right, with pollution. And by going lax on OSHA regulations to keep people safe on the job. I mean, it's a pretty dangerous job as it is. I'm not naive about what these guys are doing out there. It's dangerous work. But there are guidelines in place that make it safer than it probably would be otherwise. And I have no problem with following those guidelines, but nobody really is. We just all go along with the okie doke in this state, don't we? Everything's just dandy in good old North Dakota. Yep. Yeah, when was the last time you saw a real hard-biting story on any of the local media? Television, forget it. You're not going to get any hard-biting news about this on television unless, and that's the great irony of this, is that it took a guy on HBO to say what everybody around here says to each other when nobody's looking, but nobody wants to really come out and say it in public. Well, I am, but thing is, things are not that good here. Yeah, a lot of money is changing hands. I'm not seeing any of it. All I'm seeing is rising prices for everything. All I'm seeing is the inability to get a new place to live because I can't afford it. Now, the prices are coming back down a bit, but it's really messed up out there. And let's not talk about the influx of people that, and again, these are issues you're going to have to deal with anytime you have an economic boom. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but, we're going to have all these people. We've got all these people who have come into the state. The crime rate has gone up. And what do you think is going to happen to those people when the economy finally settles back and we go back to being just good old North Dakota that nobody wants to bother with? Do you think all those people are going to go home? Well, some will, but a lot of them won't. Here's the thing. You talk about, the old joke has always been, we like the cold that keeps the riffraff out. My experience has always been it's just the opposite. The cold keeps the riffraff here. The riffraff, the people you don't want here, they're the ones who are going to stay. Because if you have anything on the ball, you're going to go where the work is. And if the work is not here, you're going to go somewhere else. If you don't have anything on the ball, you're probably going to just stay settled here. That has been my personal observation. So thank God people like John Oliver are finally saying what has to be said. And the unfortunate thing is that with the crony capitalism system we now have, in the long run, they're just cutting their own throats. It's like Lenin said. He said a lot of things that were very, very wrong, but he did say one thing that kind of resonates here. I'll paraphrase. If they're not careful, the crony capitalists that we see now in this state running the oil industry are going to wind up selling the rope with which they are hanged. You dig? Yeah. Then again, what do I know? I wasn't even born in North Dakota. Nope. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. More conversation coming up.
Right now, 57.
Super Talk 1270. Listen to high school sports action and live Bobcats hockey online at supertalk1270.com.
How very clockwork orange of you. Thieving magpie. I love it. I love it. Do me a favor. If you're going to be out at all in the next 6 months, out in public, get your damn flu shot, please. Thank you. I mean, the flu is serious business. People die from the flu. Are you going to keep everybody safe? You want to keep yourself safe? More people need to get flu shots. And if you're not going to get a flu shot, do you mind telling me why? Number here is 663-1270. Maybe you're lazy. At least that's a reason. What's the one that was making the rounds? The whole Jenny McCarthy thing. Well, that wasn't about a flu shot per se. That was about various other things, like the measles, mumps, whooping cough, and all that. What was it? Oh, autism. No. There's no evidence that any of these treatments have anything to do with autism. So just get your flu shot, okay? Stop making excuses. You see, a lot of people don't understand how this works. They think, well, if you have your flu shot, why should you worry about me if I don't? Well, it's not quite that simple, because the fact is the shots don't work 100% of the time. They don't work for 100% of the people. So even if you do have a shot, you're going to be safer. You're going to be statistically better off. You're going to be better protected from the possibility of getting the flu, whether you've been inoculated or not, if everyone around you has also been inoculated. See what I'm saying? So, for the sake of society at large, you need to get a flu shot. And if you don't, you're being a jerk. Now, let's just call it like it is, all right? Number here is 663-1270. You know, when I was a kid, I think I was in junior high at the time. My brother was younger. I have a brother who's 6 years younger than I. So he would have been in elementary school at the time, first, second, third grade, whatever. I was in junior high or the beginning of high school. I'm not sure. But my brother, there was a girl who went to school with my brother who the girl's mother would always send her to school, even if she was sick. And everybody else just got really disgusted because what happened was this girl would get sick and the mother would send her to school anyway because I think the mother just didn't want to bother with her at home. It was one of those kind of families. So the mother would send the girl, would get the girl dressed and send her to school even though she was sick as hell. And you can imagine what happened. She went to school and all the other kids got sick as hell. It was ridiculous. Well, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that makes everybody else sick because of your neglect. So 2 points here, I guess. Get your flu shot. Number 2, if you do get sick, stay the hell home. When I was younger, I went through this whole macho thing where I thought I had to show up to work even if I'm sick. You know, the hell with being sick. I've got responsibilities. Then you get a little bit older and you think, what the hell am I doing? I'm sick. I want to stay home and be in bed. So that's what I did. I called in sick. I have a deal, in fact, with my manager here at the radio station. I told him, Larry, because that is his name, and we're on the first name basis. I said, Larry, sometime in the next couple of years, you will get a phone call in the morning, and it'll be me. And I'll sound like this. I can't come in today. I've lost my voice and I feel like crap. I'm just telling you because I know for a fact every couple of years it happens, I get sick like that and I lose my voice for a couple of days. And I'm just telling you it's going to happen. So you might as well be ready for it. And he is. He said, okay, well, you know, when it happens, I'll be ready. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll deal with it. Okay. But the hell with this going to work when you're sick, man. Why do that? You just go and infect everybody. Stay home. Get well. Watch the soaps. You know, relax, chill. Take your sick day. That's what they're there for. And get your flu shot. Because I don't want to get the flu. Because even though I was inoculated, there's still a chance of me getting the flu. If you weren't inoculated and you get it and you spread it to me, there's a possibility I can get it. And I don't want to get sick because of you. All right? All right. So get your flu shot, because if you don't, you're a schlemiel. I mean, the flu, all jokes aside, the flu is serious business. You know, people die from the flu. You know, we see on TV, people make jokes about it. You see the people in the bed, oh, man, I got the flu, oh, I feel terrible. Well, the Center for Disease Control estimates that every year about 200,000 people are hospitalized for the flu, and up to 49,000 people on average die from the flu. That's really not that funny when you think about it. And they also say that 90% of us will come to work while sick. Yeah, I mean, human beings are walking germ factories anyway. You know, the human body is one of the dirtiest things in nature. But here's the thing. You're at work. They're at work. Everybody's sharing their germs. You get the flu shot, you increase the probability that the germs you're sharing will not be as deadly. Now, of course, to some people, especially if your immune system has been compromised, cold can be deadly, but thing is, the flu can be deadly to even normal, healthy people. Now, I will say, and again, my source on this is the CDC down in Atlanta, Georgia. They're saying that this year's flu shot should be pretty effective compared with other years. You know, they don't always say that. There have been a lot of years where they're saying, well, we got the stuff coming up. We don't think it's very good this year, but it's better than nothing. Okay, fine. At least they're honest about it. But this year they're saying that it's a pretty good, they've got a pretty good strain of serum or whatever compared with other years, which means that getting your shot will substantially increase the probability that you won't get sick. And if you're contagious, you won't be spreading those germs around to people who couldn't get the flu shots themselves or got the flu shots. And like I say, there's always a possibility it may not work for everybody. As far as your job is concerned, don't be macho about it. Your job, they pay you to work, not to be sick. All right? We all get sick. Hopefully not very often. Some people more often than others. The flu is coming. The flu shot can prevent the flu. I think your boss would probably agree with me. It would be a very cool thing if you were at work, frankly, laying on the couch moaning and watching Netflix. As lovely as that may sound, if you've ever actually had the flu, it sucks big time. It's just the worst. And the place where you work, you want them to do well. You want them to be successful. Whether you're the boss or somebody else is the boss, whatever. I think you want them to do well, because if they don't, you're out of a gig. And if everybody's out with the flu, guess what? That's not very conducive toward turning a profit. All right? So get your flu shot, and also try to prevent the spread through other means. I'm starting to sound like a public service announcement here. Wash your hands. I have noticed I get sick a lot less, knock wood, now that I'm older, and I attribute that to two things. Number one, I got sick a lot when I was a kid, and I think I just built up a resistance to things. And number two, my personal hygiene habits are better than when I was younger. I wash my hands more often. I don't touch I try not to touch my face after I shake hands. I wash my hands. You try to do all those common sense kind of things that they tell you not to do. And I stay home when I'm sick, so I don't start swapping germs with everybody at work. So I'm just saying, I got my flu shot yesterday, and I just happened to be at the market, and we got flu shots today. Oh, okay, great, I'll get one. Boom, and I was done. And I'm happy to report I feel fine today. I don't feel autistic or anything else. I feel perfectly normal. I don't even have a ache in my arm. Some years you do. You get that kind of little cramp in your arm after the shot. Not today. I feel fine. I feel pretty good. So I think we're in good shape for this year. Anyway, get your flu shot. And remember, your comments are welcome here at supertalk1270.com. Always enjoy hearing from you. And if you want to argue, if you want to say I'm full of beans about something, all the better. Let's get into it. Let's dance, baby. Supertalk1270.com for your comments. Also on Facebook. Facebook.com/Supertalk1270. My name is Jim Walsh. And we shall meet again. You haven't won.